Hi, my name is Zach. I'm 28 and live by myself in a small but nice apartment right outside of New York, New Jersey. I'm a programmer for a software company where I mostly use Python and Node. It's nothing special, but I'm good at my job. I usually keep to myself. I have a couple of friends from college, but I'm not the kind of guy who needs to be around people all the time. To be honest, I was just trying to find something real. After a while, my stable life felt like it was missing something? Anyway, a few months ago, something happened that I'm still turning over in my head. It started like this. We had a job opening on the product team, and everyone was curious to see who would get it. The usual office chatter. Then, Carolyn walks in on a Monday morning. My first impression was that she was sharp and self-assured. She was confident, but not in an arrogant way. She just seemed comfortable with who she was. It was like she had been through some tough times and came out stronger, not bitter. And yes, she was very pretty. Like, actually beautiful, not Instagram filter, pretty. I didn't mind that she was in her early to mid-30s and a good bit older than me. We met during the daily morning meeting. She smiled, shook my hand, and said, "Nice to finally meet someone who isn't faking interest in meetings." I smiled back and mumbled something stupid like, "You'll fit right in." She laughed. Over the next few days, we kept running into each other in the kitchen, outside waiting for a ride, or by the elevators. It didn't feel planned. She wasn't trying too hard. It was just easy. We started having lunch together sometimes. At first, I figured she was just being nice, like one of those people who is open with everyone. She'd ask about my life, if I had, family, what I did on weekends, and so on. It never felt like she was grilling me. I remember she told me once she'd been married. Too young, she said. I thought love was enough. I just nodded and said, "Yeah, life teaches you more than school ever does." That was the kind of talk we had. Not flirty, just real. She said she used to live in Texas and came here after her divorce. She needed a fresh start. There was no drama when she said it. It was like she was talking about the weather changing. That's what struck me. No bitterness, no feeling sorry for herself. One Friday, we had a work happy hour. Everyone was a little loose, drinking and laughing too loud. She didn't drink much, just one cider, but she stayed until the end. Most people had already left when she looked over and asked, "Need a ride?" I wasn't going to say no. 'Twas quiet in her car, but not awkward, just calm. She had jazz playing quietly, and the windows were cracked. We talked about silly things, the worst computer bug I ever created, her first car, how bad dating apps were. When we got to my place, I unbuckled my seatbelt, turned to thank her, and she said it, "Don't fall for me, unless you're ready for the real thing." I smiled, she smiled. I thought it was just a joke. But the way she said it wasn't loud or teasing. It was soft and careful, like she was feeling things out. I didn't say anything back. I just chuckled, said goodnight, and shut the door. All weekend, I kept hearing her voice in my head. Not the words, but the tone. The kind you don't forget. Monday came, and the first thing I saw was Caroline already at her desk. She usually got in around the same time as me, maybe a bit later. That day, she had headphones on, focused on her computer, typing away like she was in the zone. I didn't say anything, just walked by with a nod and sat down. But I felt it. Something had changed. At lunch, we were both in the break room. No one else was there. I got my sandwich out of the fridge, and she turned toward me. "Still alive after Friday?" she asked with a half smile. "Barely," I said. "Those sliders weren't exactly safe." Laughed, and the tension broke a little. We sat at a small table by the window. She poked at her salad while I dug into my sad little ham and cheese. "I feel like I said something weird the other night," she said, without looking up. I stopped chewing. You mean about the real thing? She gave me a quick look. That, I shrugged. Didn't think it was weird. Just caught me by surprise. Her voice got a little quieter. Yeah, I do that sometimes. Say things and then try to pretend I didn't. I looked at her for a second longer than I should have. She met my eyes and didn't look away. Not this time. From then on, things weren't exactly flirty, but they weren't just friendly either. It was like every joke had a hidden meaning and every look lasted a bit too long. Still, she kept her cool. She was very good at that. Later that week, we had a late call with a client. After it ended, most of the team logged off. I stayed to finish up a report. Caroline stayed too. Want to get out of here? She asked, standing behind me with her jacket on. Like, right now. She nodded. Come on, you look like you need a drink. We ended up at a small bar a few blocks away. It wasn't busy. Dim lights, old leather booths, soft music, mostly locals. She ordered a whiskey. I got a beer. She leaned back and sighed like it had been a long month of Mondays. We didn't talk about work. She asked about my family. I told her I had a sister in Oregon and my mom in Jersey City. She asked if I was close with them. I try to be, I said. She told me she hadn't spoken to her ex in over 2 years. We just had a moment where we both gave up, she said. Neither of us fought for it. I wasn't sure what to say, so I just listened. She looked down at her glass, turning it slowly. You ever think about it? She asked. What? Marriage, family, all of it. I laughed a little. Not lately, I guess. It feels like a different world, you know? She nodded slowly. Yeah, it does. We left the bar a little after 9. She walked slightly ahead, hands in her pockets, looking up at the sky like she was trying to read it. We stopped at a crosswalk. The street was quiet. She smiled at me, but her eyes were serious. You know, she said, you're the kind of guy I'd marry if I ever did it again. I laughed. I didn't know how to answer that. That's quite an endorsement. She didn't laugh, just tilted her head. You think I'm joking? I don't know. She smiled then, the kind of smile people give when they're trying to take back something they shouldn't have said. Then she changed the subject. We talked about how the bar smelled like old books, how she missed libraries, how dating apps made people feel disposable. But her words kept ringing in my head. The next day, things got even stranger. Not in a bad way, just in a quiet way. We were in a team meeting and someone made a dumb joke about deadlines. Everyone chuckled, and I said something dry like, if. I had $1 for every project that finished on time. A few people laughed. Caroline, sitting across from me, just gave me a look. Just a look. Then she smiled. Not a good one smile. Something different, like she saw more than what I said. That smile got to me. The next time we had lunch, same. Little table, same easy vibe. I was telling a story about a college roommate who used to bring home reptiles. She laughed. Zach, you've lived a weird life. You have no idea, I said. Then she said, without looking away, I could be your wife, you know, if you ever asked. She said it like a joke, but she didn't blink. She said it, and then it was quiet. It felt like she was giving me an opening or a test. I froze. I gave that dumb, awkward smile guys make when their brain freezes. Then I said, you'd be a great one. But I didn't mean it how she wanted me to. I said it like a punchline, not an answer. She gave a small laugh. She pushed her tray back and said she had to get back to her desk. She was still nice for the rest of the dapple light. Professional, but something was between us. It was quiet. And for the first time since I met her, I had no idea what she was thinking. The next morning, she didn't say anything to me. Not in a mean way, just ... nothing. She walked past my desk like I wasn't even there. I watched her talk to other people, laugh at someone's joke, help an intern with something. It was all normal. But for me, there was just this weird emptiness. I got stuck in my head about it. I kept replaying that lunch moment over and over. The way she said it, I could be your wife, you know? If you ever asked, was it a joke, a test, a dare? Did I fail? I couldn't focus. I spent 2 hours trying to fix a simple script before I realized it was just a typo. I got up for coffee and saw her in the kitchen talking to Nate from another team. I heard some of their conversation. She was laughing, a real laugh. I hated how much that bothered me. I shouldn't have cared that much. She was older. We'd only known each other a few months. We hadn't even kissed. But I felt like I'd already lost something that hadn't even started. That night, I got home and just sat in the dark for a while. No TV, no music. I just sat there, phone in my hand. I opened up our message chat a dozen times, typed things like, "Hey, about what you said, ... Were you serious?" But I deleted it every time. Around midnight, I gave up, threw my phone on the bed, and tried to sleep. I couldn't. At 1:30 a.m., I got up and walked around the block. I ended up at a 24-hour diner, sitting with a coffee I didn't need, watching people come and go, wondering if she had already moved on in her head. The next few days were bad. She was professional, distant, but not cold. No more jokes, no more looks, no more what-ifs. I kept messing up. I missed a deadline. I forgot about a Zoom call. I even walked into a glass door because I was looking at my phone while trying to leave. Carolyn saw it, smirked, and said nothing. I was in a spiral. On Friday evening, I was working late to finish something. The office was mostly empty. I could hear the cleaners mop down the hall. I looked over at Caroline's desk. She was gone. That hit me harder than it should have. A week ago, she probably would have stayed late too. We probably would have gone for a drink or laughed over bad microwave noodles. I opened Slack. I started typing, "Hey, can we talk?" Deleted it. Typed again about what you said at lunch, ... Deleted that too. Then I just closed my laptop and told myself to get over her. That lasted until Saturday afternoon. I was in the grocery store, staring at 5 different brands of frozen pizza like it was some big decision. My phone buzzed. It was from Nate. "Saw Caroline out with Liam last night. Just thought you should know." I didn't reply. I just stood there frozen, staring through the glass. That night, I sat on my porch with a beer, watching cars pass. I tried not to care, but it was eating me up. I had no right to be jealous. I'd messed up. I missed my chance. I took what she said as a joke when it clearly wasn't. Maybe she was seeing someone else now? Maybe the window she opened for me was closed. I thought about everything she'd said. Over the last few weeks, the honesty, the little smiles, the line from her car, "Don't fall for me unless you're ready for the real thing." The line from lunch, "I could be your wife." She wasn't playing games. I had just been too careful too. Shocked, too unsure. On Sunday morning, I woke up with a headache. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table, feeling like I had one shot. I opened our chat again, and this time, I didn't overthink it. I typed, "Coffee. I owe you a better answer." Then I hit send. No emojis, no nervous punctuation. Just that. She didn't answer for over an hour. Checked my phone 12 times. I drank my cold coffee. I started pacing. Finally, a reply came. "Tomorrow, after work." No smiley face, no extra words. Just like mine. Monday went by so slowly. I was clock watching from 9 a.m. Caroline didn't look at me all morning. Around 4:45, she gave me a quick glance, then looked away. When 6 o'clock hit, I got up, grabbed my things, and walked out. She was already waiting outside, leaning against her car with her keys in her hand. She didn't say anything when I walked up, just pointed to the passenger door. We drove for 5 minutes in silence. Soft music was playing, the same jazz she always liked. Then she asked, "So, you wanted to talk?" I nodded. "Yeah, I do." We pulled into the parking lot of a small cafe I didn't know existed. It was quiet, dimly lit, and mostly empty. We ordered drinks. I sat in a booth by the window, and this time the quiet between us didn't feel weird. It was full of suspense. I opened my mouth to talk, but then I stopped. She raised an eyebrow. "What?" I looked. At her. "I didn't know what to say," I said. "When you said that thing at lunch about being my wife." She didn't move, didn't blink. "I thought you were joking, but something in the way you looked at me, ... I knew you weren't." She leaned back, crossing her arms, and now I wish I hadn't paused. She nodded slowly. "I wasn't trying to scare you, Zach. I wasn't trying to rush anything. I'm just done with men not taking me seriously. I didn't think you were one of them." I looked down at my cup. "I didn't mean to," I said. I didn't expect you to mean it." She was quiet for a second. Then she said, "Neither did I." That line really got to me. Neither of us expected it, but here it was. I looked at her for a moment. She wasn't smiling, she wasn't joking, just waiting. We sat in silence for a bit after that. The kind of quiet where you're both thinking the same thing, but don't know how to say it. The cafe was quiet around us. The only sound was the low hum of indie music and the clink of cups. Carolyn picked up her drink and took a sip. She looked out the window like she was somewhere else. I felt like I had to say the right thing now, or I'd lose her for good. "I guess I wasn't expecting you to be serious," she finally said. I looked at her. "Why not?" She shrugged. "'Cause most guys aren't. I joke a lot. I say things people find hard to handle. I'm used to people laughing it off, or getting weird, or just assuming I don't mean it. And when I said the thing about being your wife, ... I figured you'd either laugh with me or run." I stayed quiet. I could feel my hands getting a little sweaty. "Instead," she continued, "you did the third thing. You froze." I let out a breath that was almost a laugh. "Yeah, I did." She smiled a little. "I didn't say it because I wanted you to propose or something crazy. I just wanted to see if you would even consider the idea." I nodded. "I did. I have." "That's the problem." She looked surprised. "I think about you more than I want to admit. I think about the crazy things you say. I think about what it would be like to come home to you. I think about how easy it is to be with you, and that's terrifying." She blinked slowly. "Why is it terrifying?" "Because I've never had that with anyone. And I guess I thought it couldn't be that simple. Maybe it isn't real. Maybe I'm fooling myself." Now she was staring at me, but not like before. It wasn't flirty. It wasn't a test. She was reading me. "I know what you mean," she said. "You don't trust it because it didn't come with drama." "Exactly," I said. "I've done the drama," she said softly. "I married young. Key was charming, loud, passionate, and a complete mess. Everything was a fight or a thrill. Nothing was steady. We were both too proud to admit we were wrong. It lasted 6 years. Why 6? I asked. I kept thinking it would settle down. That we just needed time, but time just showed how different we were. She looked down at her coffee. I'm not looking for fireworks anymore, Zach. I'm looking for peace. For someone who listens, who shows up. I looked at her, and for once, I didn't feel like a kid talking to an older woman. I felt like a man talking to someone who had lived more than me, but wasn't worn down by it. I don't know if I'm ready for marriage, I said honestly, but I know I'm not ready to lose you. That got a reaction. Her lips parted, but she didn't say anything. I'm not saying we should rush. I'm not even saying we tell anyone. I'm just saying, I'm here. And I'm not laughing anymore. She smiled. This time, it reached her eyes. Good, she said. Because I was getting tired of being the funny one. After the cafe, she asked if I wanted to go for a walk. We ended up at a quiet park nearby. The air was cool and the lights were low. There weren't many people out, just a jogger here and there or a couple holding hands. I kept looking at her, and every time she was looking back at me. I don't think I've ever told anyone I work with this, she said. But I like being with you more outside the office than in it. I grinned. That's saying something. You have to put up with me in our morning meetings. She laughed, a small sound. We passed an empty bench, and I reached for her hand. I didn't think about it. It just felt like the right thing to do. She didn't pull away. We just sat. No plan, no rush, no deadline. She finally turned to me and asked, "So, are you going to kiss me or just keep thinking about it?" I smiled. "Is it that obvious?" She nodded. Painfully, I leaned in, taking my time. No pressure. When our lips met, it wasn't like the movies. Oh, no fireworks. It was quiet, warm, and familiar in a way. I couldn't explain. She rested her forehead against mine and whispered, "That wasn't so hard, was it?" "No," I said. "It really wasn't. We didn't go home together that night. We didn't send cheesy texts after. We didn't update our relationship status or take selfies. We just let it be what it was." And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't worried about what would happen next. Nothing changed at the office the next morning, but I felt it. I walked by her desk, and she looked up. She gave me the smallest smile, the kind you only share between two people, and I knew something had started. Not because of what she said, but because this time, I finally answered back. It had been about a month since that night at the cafe. Things didn't change all at once. It happened slowly, quietly, the right way. We didn't make a big announcement. At work. No big office romance. We kept it to ourselves, which we both wanted. No holding hands in meetings, no flirty messages on Slack, no stolen kisses in the stairwell. It was more real than that. We'd have dinner at each other's places. We'd take turns picking movies we'd both fall asleep during. I learned she hated folding laundry, but loved organizing bookshelves. She learned I sometimes have full conversations with myself when I'm fixing code. Neither of us ran away. That said a lot. One Friday morning, I got to the office early. I brought coffee. I got hers with oat milk and 1 pump of caramel, just how she likes it. She looked up from her computer as I set it down. "Thanks," she said, a little smile on her lips. "No problem, temporary wife," I said. She gave me a look. "Excuse me." I smirked and pointed to the t-shirt she'd worn last weekend. The one with temporary wife, permanent vibes written on it in her own handwriting. She laughed quietly and shook her head. "Don't read too much into that. I'm not. Just saying. You wore it like you meant it." She took a sip of her coffee and leaned back. "I wore it because it made you blush." "Okay, fair enough." There was a pause, one of those loaded silences. I was getting better at sitting in instead of trying to escape with a joke. "I've been thinking," she said, "about us." I nodded slowly. "Me too." She didn't rush. Caroline never did. "I'm not going to pretend I have it all figured out," she said. "But I know what this feels like, and it feels right." I didn't have to say I agreed. She could see it on my face. We didn't move in together. Not yet. We started spending most nights at my place. It wasn't even a decision. Just sort of happened. One day her toothbrush was in my bathroom. Then half her clothes were in my dresser. Then we had a small argument about who finished the almond milk and made up over pancakes. One night, We were watching some show neither of us was paying attention to. She was curled up on my couch in a hoodie that used to be mine. Her feet were tucked under a blanket. She was holding a mug of tea like it was something precious. I looked over at her and asked, "Do you still think you could be my wife?" She smiled without looking away from the screen. "Not today." I raised an eyebrow. "But someday." Now she turned to me, looking me in the eye. "Maybe," she said. "If you ask the right way?" I laughed. "There's a right way." She nodded. "Oh, definitely. No public scenes, no flash mobs, no rings and cupcakes." "Noted," I said. "Guess I'll have to get creative." That night, after she fell asleep, I lay awake next to her and realized something. She wasn't joking anymore. And neither was I. 3 months later, I brought it up again. We were in the kitchen making breakfast. She was burning the toast like usual, and I was trying to make eggs without breaking the yolks. I looked at her and said, "What would you say if I asked for real?" She turned off the toaster, crossed her arms, and looked at me. I held her gaze. No smiling, no jokes. "I'd say yes," she said. "But only if you're sure." "I am." Another pause. "Then ask me when it feels right," she said. "Don't do it now. Let's let it surprise us both." So that's what we did. We didn't rush. We didn't force a label. We just lived. We went to a family barbecue, and she met my mom. My mom loved her. Caroline was nervous, but was her natural self. Afterward, my mom pulled me aside and whispered, "She grounds you." She did, in ways I hadn't known I needed. It was about a year after she said that line at lunch, the one that started it all. We were on a weekend trip in the mountains. We'd rented a small cabin with no Wi-Fi and a fireplace that barely worked. I came out one morning and sat next to her on the porch. She was wearing a wool sweater, her hair a little messy, reading a book in the morning light. She looked up and smiled. "So, I offered to be your wife if you ever asked," she said. She closed her book, leaned back, and said, "Then ask." So I did. No ring yet, no grand plan, just the words. And she said yes. No joke, no blinking. Just yes. We didn't post it online. We didn't tell the whole office. We just kept it to ourselves for a while. Eventually, we told our close friends. We started looking for a place to live outside the city. We found a small house with a crooked porch and a lemon tree in the yard. We're not married yet. We don't need a label to know what we are to each other. She still makes her jokes. She still calls me young and slow. But when she looks at me now, it's not a test.